Hey guys, I'm Tim.
I'm Bob.
I'm Mike.
And this is the Board Game Rundown. And today we're going to do a review of the Pirate Republic Africa Gambit. So technically, this is still sort of a pre-production copy. There are some production things that they were still working on fixing. But I mean, for the most part, the rules, as far as we know, are pretty well set. So we're going to come at this. We might comment a little bit on some of the components, just some issues maybe that weren't shared with us that we know they're going to fix. And then we're just going to go into the gameplay and like how we felt about that, and then we'll give it a score. So in the Pirate Republic Africa Gambit, what we're going to do is we each are playing as a different pirate from the golden age of piracy. We're going to have a semi-asymmetrical deck. Everybody's deck is going to have 2 cards in it that are unique to their deck, right? So it's going to give you that sort of unique ability. Then we're going to sail around the seas here, and we're going to do our best taking out merchant ships, company ships, maybe even slaver ships or merchant ships, other pirates. And, as we do that, we're going to gain swagger, which is going to help level us up, which is going to give us initiative against other units, things like that. Also, it's going to allow us to recruit crew because we become more infamous as a pirate. Then you might even get elite cards, which will really make you even more powerful. And you're going to need those because as you go in, the ships get more powerful. There's different ways that you're going to be able to defeat those ships and things like that. And then as you increase those stats, you might even be able to recruit other ships to your fleet, which will give you a nice bonus, right? Like a one-time, well, I say one time, but once per round use to help you attack, maybe take down that pirate hunter that spawned on you. But, speaking of which, on a player's turn, the first thing first you draw a tidings card. That's going to sort of set the round rules. Yep. You'll get a letter of marquee, which is depicted up at the top. That nation effectively becomes passive. They will not attack you unless you attack them first. And then it's going to have some sort of round thing, hey, you need to rest or you need to attack, something like that, or you're going to get a penalty. Once everybody understands what that is, then you can start. And you're going to start every round by rolling that tidings die. It can give you bonus movement. It could give you negative movement. It could spawn or move the slaver and treasure ships, and then also give you a reputation. That's probably the best one to roll, to be honest.
No.
You don't think that's the best one to roll?
+3 move is
+3
the best
move?
Yeah.
Sure.
Movement, everything relies on movement.
Movement's really important. It is. If you roll this white lookout, you're going to spawn one of the extra ships that are floating around in this bag. It's a merchant or a pirate. They're going to spawn on your spot. You can either flee. So when the merchant or pirate, you can just spend a move to leave them on that one.
On that one.
On the red one, that's the bad one.
That's the bad one.
That is the bad one. You are going to draw a pirate hunter token, and those things are beasts. And you cannot flee the pirate hunter unless you have, you have to like enter combat with it and then spend the movement to get away from it, which
is a lot.
Is a lot because they usually are like a 10 or 12 broadsides.
Yep.
So again, on your turn, you're gonna play these cards you have based on your hand size. So starting hand size is 4. You get up to 5, even potentially 6 if you play long enough. And you're going to spend those cards. They're going to give you bonuses to your broadside, your movement, your close combat, your strike fear, different things like that. You're going to move around. You can scout adjacent areas, spending your reputation to scout the forts or ports, or maybe the face down ship tokens, so you know what you're moving into to attack. Combat is a whole thing. So in combat, you're going to first have to determine if you have initiative. At the beginning, you're really only going to have initiative over those green merchant ships. Then as you level up, you'll get initiative over the pirate ships. You'll get initiative over ports. Then the navy ships, which are the blue ones. And then the slaver ships. And then at the max level, you will get initiative over the treasure ships and the pirate hunters. Those are the strongest ships. But if you have initiative, you can look at either your broadsides first or your strike fear. If your strike fear is higher than their hand-to-hand combat, you spend out that those points, and boom, they're gone. They're beat. You get the reward shown on the disc. Pretty straightforward. If it's got a little combat modifier, you will need to draw a tidings card for the combat modifier on the bottom. That is an easy thing to forget. Also, if you defeated a ship with a combat modifier, it can be saved later to then spend to buy elite cards, but you need 3 of them, or you could spend 1 to buy a reputation, and you can
get 3 reputation.
3 reputation for each one spent.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not have initiative, then you need to outrun the broadsides because you didn't see them coming. So you need to spend movement equal to their broadsides. If you do that, you can avoid taking any damage, and then you can either flee or move in close and engage into hand-to-hand combat. Then if you're in hand-to-hand, you're going to spend your cards or your fleet tokens that you have, if anybody's joined your ship, to at least get equal to their hand-to-hand combat. If you succeed in doing that, you defeat the ship, you're going to gain the rewards. Or you can flee. If you are under the total movement, if your movement does not meet or exceed their broadsides, and you want to flee, or you want to go into close combat, you're going to take a damage. You take 2 damage, you are captured. If you are under half, you are captured. Immediately. And your turn ends. If you get captured, you're going to basically drop down to the bottom of the level where you're at, +1. So you would, like the example Bob just did, 38 is the level, and then he gets +1. So he'd be up to 39 points. So 38 would be level 4. Boom, right there. So depending on where you are and how close you are to leveling up, it may not be like the worst thing. It's not, I don't feel like it's overly punishing, but it is punishing. So there you go. That's basically combat, like really fast.
Well, one of the things I would point out, so if you do spend like half, like if you're like between half and full of their broadsides, and you're spending your movement points to close in, whatever that difference is, so if they had 10 and you only spent 7 movement, that extra 3 broadside will get added to their hand-to-hand, and then that will be the number you have to overcome.
It does. Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, because that is important.
It is.
And easy to overlook.
Yep.
And that's really what we're going to do. You're going to go around and around and around until whoever was the commander to start the game cannot draw. When they cannot draw, you are going to basically reset the round. So whoever is in last place becomes the new commander.
Yep.
We draw a new tidings token. If we didn't have enough ships on the board, we would reseed the board. You would resolve whatever the new tidings card is. Look at that. Look at any effects. Make sure everybody completed what they were supposed to from the first tidings card. And then the button moves or stays with if the current commander was still in the last place.
Yeah. So unlike a lot of other like deck builders or whatever you want to like label it as, if you're not the commander and you run out of cards like in turn 3, for instance, because you're just spending all of your cards and like the commander's like slow playing it, you're going to end up passing, and then as it goes around, you're just going to have to skip your turn because you're not going to reshuffle your discard pile until the commander runs out of cards, and then everybody reshuffles at the same time. Right,
and it is important to keep that in mind because we didn't really have it come up, but I could see where it would come up.
Yeah.
Because it basically,
it kind of happened the first round, but I was running out anyway.
You were right behind us. Yeah. We just ran out.
Correct.
We ran out one
the
turn before you.
Yep.
So it didn't really affect anything, which was good. So that's basically gameplay. You're going to go, if you're playing through sort of the campaign mode, you're going to go until all players have completed the mission or whatever it tells you on there, and at least one player has completed a personal mission. And then you would basically move on to the next scenario with the whatever it tells you to add to it. If you're playing sort of like an open world game, it's a little different. You can play to 60 or 120. Like first one to get there wins the game.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's just get into our thoughts because we're going to have a lot of thoughts on this game. And let's dive in. Mike, why don't we hit you first?
So I'll start with the things that I like. I really enjoy the art that's on the cards, that's on the box, that's on the map. I think it's a beautiful map to look at. I like all of the real world locations that are on here. Many of them are actually board games, which is kind of neat.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But real ports, and a lot of the components are great. I mean, these wood tokens, the dual layer board and everything. huge chunky tidings die. If I didn't know that half of it was going to bite me, I might enjoy rolling it more.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that. And, you know, I like the progression system and what it's trying to accomplish, like how I can actually become more effective by gaining initiative against certain ships. I do feel more powerful as I go along. And, you know, it takes a bit to get additional cards into your deck, but once you start getting those extra crew cards, the elite cards, you definitely do start to feel stronger. And the basic pirates that you struggled with earlier in the game, you do feel easy. You do feel stronger, and it feels easier to wipe them out as you go along. You know, there's some good variability in this game, and there's a lot of replayability in this game because there's a massive deck of tidings there, which can really change things from round to round. And there's a lot of kind of input randomness as far as where the ships are going to spawn, which ships are going to spawn, and of course there's different things that will change from scenario to scenario. So definitely see a lot of replayability. I love these new ships. The molds on these ships are really fantastic. Really like those a lot. Now, to go into kind of some of the things that maybe don't work for me, I will leave these to a community discussion later. This is supposed to be an improvement to seeing forts on the board, but it actually makes it more difficult, and we'll get into that. I'll save that. The dual layer player board here, I believe you're only supposed to put your, like, the name of your faction into this pirate deck spot here. It doesn't exactly fit the card, and I know components are going to change. I would suggest a slot on the side here, so it would just slide out easily, because even if it did perfectly fit, like, my nub of what are called human fingernails are not going to be able to dig that card out, so I'd like to see that improve. I think that otherwise the dual layer player board works great.
Right.
I kind of feel like I'm slogging through the progression system, though. I want it to ramp up a little bit faster. I want to get to where I'm not avoiding ships as much as I am. I'm really, like, trying to stay away from things early and scouting, because I remember when we played the first time, I lost a fight against a pirate ship. I didn't scout. I just went in and said, all right, I think I've got enough attack cards in my hand here to be able to handle what a pirate's going to throw at me. And boy, was I wrong. And then you reset to the very beginning of that tier, and I never advanced out of that tier for the rest of the game. Now, this game, I did actually get into tier 4. That did give me initiative against Navy ships, and that did feel good, but it felt like it really took a long time to get to that point. I mean, my personal mission was very randomly given, where I had to sack a port that was right next to where my ship was. So that gave me a pretty good leg up, but, like, if it was a port on the other side of the board, forget it. I'm probably just not even going to go for that mission. So some of that randomness can offer a lot of feel bad moments, like this particular die, and you have to roll it to start your turn. It's either going to give you 3 movement, which is great, or you're going to lose a movement, which doesn't affect you a whole lot. But when it starts spawning ships into your area, it can completely derail your turn. The white one is less punishing, but if you roll the red one and you have to put the pirate hunter into your space, did anybody defeat a pirate hunter our entire game?
I did at the very end, because I had been trying. I didn't mean to, like, kind of cut in, but I had been trying to get to my mission spot, and there were these 2 Navy ships there, and so I was kind of going around fighting other ports and stuff like that, building my ship up, unlocking more stuff, and every time that I had enough stuff to finally go in there and fight them, I would roll that die and spawn a ship. Now I was spending tokens trying to re-roll it, and I would just roll the same side over and over again, and that was very frustrating. So it was just like, 3 different times I had the cards I needed to be able to go in there, cause fear on one, have enough fight left over to kill the other one. And I couldn't do it 3 different times because I kept rolling and spawning more ships in my area, and that just led to some feels bad. Like Mike was saying, I enjoyed kind of leveling up, the feeling like I'm getting stronger. Like I knew that's where my personal quest was. I was gonna try to get there once I scouted and saw those 2 Navy ships. I'm like, okay, build up so I can get the initiative on those Navy ships and get over there. But then 3 different times I had what I needed in my hand. I'd try to get over there and I'd roll that die and I'd spawn something in my spot, and man, that did not feel good.
Yeah, and even when you roll the white one, like they're easier to defeat or easier to escape from.
Yeah, you can
Right.
just
But
leave it.
I'm spending those resources.
It
and not,
forces you a lot
yeah.
of times to make a tactical decision, which doesn't always. You may be trying to plan out your turn, and this makes you do something completely different. And if that keeps happening, that can be frustrating. But if you roll one of those guys, like.
Woo. Yeah,
That's rough.
It can totally annihilate your turn,
They are
and then
rough.
you're losing cards.
Yeah.
You're losing,
you
you
can
know,
spawn it on their first turn of the game.
it can happen, and there's nothing you could do to.
Nothing you
to-
can
And then
about
that
it.
ship is there blocking that space
Yeah,
for the rest of it till somebody gets big enough. And if that's at Nassau, that's huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That's a starting space.
A couple other suggestions I would make. I wish the tidings die explanation was just on the back of the rule book. Because I think these are pretty easy to understand. I want icons on the player aid. I think that would be a better use of this section than the tidings die, because I kept forgetting what things were called, what those icons are used for. Maybe that's a me problem, but I think icons should be on your player aid.
I mean, or you just take the solo play section and put that on a small card.
Yep.
Just for the
sure.
solo play, and then
Yeah.
you could have the icons right there, and you could still have the tidings die information.
Yep.
That'd
I
be good
thought
too.
I mean,
most
you
of the
you
I'm
don't
not
need
really
3.
disagreeing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
is in yes and right?
Right.
Yes and
most
I'm
of
with
this stuff pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, more icons on the player aids would be nice.
because you do want to be clear about
The difference between the white and the red.
that-
And
those
it's
are the-
nice to know that if they do the roll the white, you can just spend the 1 movement to get away.
Right.
Right. You know.
You do want that, it is nice to have that information. Is it useful on the back of the book or on the player aid? Yes, to both. But yeah, I would say the solo stuff.
You don't need four
move that, put-
copies of the solo instructions.
Put the icons all on one. Put the icons where that is so
Yeah.
that everybody can see the icons. Because the iconography is strong, I feel like, but you've only got one spot to look at it where
Yeah.
everything else,
Yeah.
you've got multiple
Yeah,
spots.
I mean, while we're on the icons, I think it would be a good idea too to put the swagger icon in the 0 spot, so you realize that's the victory point.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what you're looking for.
Agreed.
Because you don't see it anywhere else except for when you go to fight stuff, and there's just that skeleton with a bandana on it.
Yeah,
and you're
which
like,
looks cool.
"Wait,
I like that
right."
icon.
Exactly. So you put it on the board over there in that spot, and then you realize, okay, this is the track that's tracking
That's that track.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What else you got, Mike?
Yeah, and of course we've now played this twice, or you guys 3 times,
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
twice.
Yep.
And each time we played the shorter game, I think knowing how to progress and doing the scouting and knowing not to just blindly go into fights, knowing they can obliterate you and set you back tremendously, you do kind of have to be careful, and that does allow the game to progress better than it did last time. I felt really stuck in the mid game, so I played safer this time, and I was able to progress more than the last game. So that first game did help me figure out a better strategy going into this time.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of times where the game just punches you,
Oh, it
and
does.
it'll punch you repeatedly.
It will.
And it can totally derail a turn, which can be frustrating. Last thing I'll say, this thing, amazing. This is a
Love it.
fantastic commander coin.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say for now.
All right, Bobby, what do you got?
Yeah, so kind of like what Mike was saying, I really did enjoy this dual layer board, right? Because it keeps all your stuff like in place. And then yes, just kind of slotting out this spot here so the stuff can slide in and out as opposed to maybe getting stuck inside there would be good. But these guys fit and they're really good. And then when it comes to like the modularity of the leveling up, I feel like this guy here is so important because you're getting cards to add to your deck, and if you don't have the right level ups, you can't actually add the card to your deck. I almost feel like this one should default to like the first one,
Sure.
and then the rest of them could kind of be a little bit more modular because I just feel like that's so important, and they can be so hard to kind of get some of these sometime that I feel like that that's
clarify, Bob. He's talking about the one that allows you to increase your captain stats.
So as soon as you get enough swagger, like 8 swagger to level up a little bit, and you start to get the initiative on the pirates, and you get your first crew card, well, if you haven't really done any of the other accomplishments, you're going to get a crew card you're not going to be able to use. So you kind of would have to. So by getting this little guy here, which is the first reward that we put on the level 2, it allowed you then, when you get your crew card, you just move that crew slot up 1, and that allowed you to use your crew card right away. And that was...
Didn't recognize that was modular.
Yeah.
And I think that would be another part where the input randomness can be punishing if you gain a crew card and you can't use it until you get to tier 4.
Yeah,
So
like if we had this like this, now it's like, oh, you just got a crew and elite card, and you cannot use either one until you manage to get some of those accomplishments.
And it takes a bit to get those accomplishments.
It can. Now, like win with a company, because that's one of the important things too, is you can fight things together, and that is very helpful. You have to negotiate the rewards and whatnot, but that will allow both of you guys to mark off that reward and give you an upgrade, which is good. Which I feel like the movement is so powerful because it's really important. But that's one way to kind of get it. But other than that, though, I mean, defeating 2 ports, can take you a while, especially if you're trying to like avoid other stronger ships that might be in the way. Defeating the forts. The forts are tough.
None of us beat a fort.
None of us. I mean, I probably could have fought a fort if I had tried, but there wasn't one that was pertinent to me, right? So it didn't really matter. So
I was close to fighting one, but I opted to go and try to complete my.
Yeah. Mike got the
personal
defeated
mission
treasure
first.
fleet because he literally drew a card that said defeated treasure fleet. That was one of his treasures.
That was one of my treasures.
So he's the only one that managed to
The
do that.
siege cannon. It was awesome.
Yeah.
He didn't get the experience point or the
swagger.
He didn't get the swagger for it,
But he still
got
got
the
the
treasure, which was great,
which is
which
pretty
then
good.
allowed him to do more stuff later.
and an accomplishment, which is big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, a lot of those other ones can take a while to get to, and so I feel like that one is
That one is
super
recommended if it's your first game to be the first spot.
Oh,
I
is
was
it?
just checking.
Yeah, that's
When
follow
I-
that recommendation.
When I drew them, that was not at the top, and
Right.
I put it at the top
Yes.
because I was.
I saw you
looking at
do
it
that, and I was okay with that.
and was like, it's a game. You're
Yeah.
supposed to have fun
Supposed
when
to be
you're playing
having
a
fun.
game,
Right.
and so yeah.
Yeah, but no, the wooden token upgrades, those are a fantastic upgrade. They are really nice. Bits, the flag bits are nice. The pirate ships, I get it. Like your stickers are different, but from afar, it might be a little tricky to tell which one. Mike, I did a couple times grab my ship and move it, because it was the wrong one. Maybe if these sails were a slightly different color, I get it. It would make the price a little bit more. Maybe you could just paint them. I guess
2 different colors of plastic would be tricky.
Exactly. Yeah, trying to put that into a mold, it definitely
costly.
increases the cost. Correct. So
I don't love putting stickers on things.
I know,
either,
and stickers they are what they are.
They are.
But like I said, there were a lot of turns that I really enjoyed what I was doing and leveling up and moving in and striking fear, then moving here and using my cannons to broadside. But then, those 3-4 turns where I had what I needed and I just kept getting hosed. I had
really bad.
so many of these tokens, but I was level 4, so to reroll it, I have to spend 4 of those tokens
I don't
to
like
reroll
that.
And man, that was.
I don't like that gets
spend
harder,
that many.
harder and harder to do.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. You're earning more, but maybe make it 1 for the first 3 levels, 2 for the second 3 levels,
Yeah.
something like that. So it still gets a little bit more taxing. So you're still spending them to reroll, but man, spending 4 a reroll and still rolling the same thing over and over.
And thematically, I kind of understand it too, right? Because it's like, oh, you chicken, you're gonna have to reroll the die. You're spending your reputation to do it.
I guess.
But
it leads to a lot of feels bad.
It shouldn't be that expensive,
Right.
I kind of, I'm
You get the increased cost, but maybe not quite that nice.
I'm projecting what I think the intent was.
Sure.
But I think it's still too expensive.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, but thematically, I see
Understand
what
it.
they're doing.
Yep.
Right. Again, I'm projecting. I'm assuming that that's what they're doing. When I see it, that's kind of how I took it. It's kind of like spending reputation to rest.
Yeah, which also seemed a little weird. Like maybe if it was your haven, you could rest without having to spend. Because
I
all my
agree.
cards, if the rest part of it, I had to spend a reputation to do it anyway. So I was like, why would I want to spend a card and
Yeah.
a reputation if I'm just going to spend reputation instead? So I feel like I should be like, if it's a place that I just sacked and I put my little flag out there,
agree.
I feel like I should be able to rest there because dude, I just sacked the place.
It should be free at either a pirate haven you establish, which
Yep.
is taking over one of the neutral ones.
Yep.
Or yes, because it's your place.
It's your
You're going to go
place.
bury your treasure there, whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
You're going to rest.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But
If
spending
you-
reputation at somebody else's place, okay, then that makes sense.
and a neutral spot, like,
Yes.
oh man, we saw them just slacking off over
Yeah,
there. Yeah, you
bunch of
spend a
slackers.
little reputation, 'cause-
Right, and you're like, oh yeah, you just fought all those guys. Cool, yeah. Here's some rum.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, I
But,
get that. I
yeah.
get that.
So, and then the forts, right? I mean, like I said, it's a work in progress.
Right.
Those things there.
Stick one of them in there.
Yeah. So.
We'll get to the pile on here.
Yeah, here we
might
go.
as well do it now because
Yeah.
you're about done, right? Fort's your last part.
This is my
okay.
last part. So
yeah,
this
so
guy's
we can
gonna
all.
sit down inside here like this. Now, from across the table, I cannot see any of the icons on this
I
side.
can't see any of the icons either.
So it kind of actively makes it worse. Yes, you can tell that there's a fort there now because on the table it definitely sticks out, but you can't read any of the numbers.
And also, you know, it looks cool.
It
like
does
to
look
see
cool.
the fort. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, those are the forts.
Maybe if the center
stands
part
out.
was filled in, so if this sat
If
up
it sat
lifted
on the
higher,
top,
yeah,
I
so
would
it
love
sits
it.
on top, that would be better.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Because it would
would lift it
aesthetically
up.
it would aesthetically improve the board because
Yep.
now you've got this
3D terrain.
which adds a 3D terrain thing.
Yep.
But you're not sacrificing
Right,
visuals.
by putting a wall up in front of the side. And I'm
Right.
like, how many people you got inside there?
The other thought I had is if you just cut it out and you just have this corner piece that just sits on the top of the tile.
Oh,
There you go.
just cut the little tower
Just
out.
that, just
put
a little,
this down, put the
a
tower
little
on
piece
top
of
there.
plastic that sits on top of it.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, just cut the 3 walls off, take the
But
tower.
that blocks it
No,
from
I would.
all 4
I
sides.
think my preferred way would be that if it somehow
Sat
sat
up.
Yeah.
on the top, I
Yeah.
think that would be the best way.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Any way to draw attention to it is
Right.
great.
Without
right?
blocking
Agreed.
the numbers.
Agreed.
Yeah.
My go-to solution, just without having no skin in the game, would just be to have one
Lift
layer
it.
right there
Yeah.
so it's lifted and you're all set, and it looks great. Because I guess what you could do is like if you just wanted to use them, you could probably just like do like that. You know,
Oh, getting fancy.
There
have the
Yeah.
cube to hold it because that's
It's a little balance, but that's
Yeah.
works
that
good there.
provides what you want.
That's
a little
kind
bit
of
of lift
what
to
we're
the
looking
tile.
at.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. That would
Just-
give you.
I definitely get frustrated by components that block
Actively hurt.
vital
Yeah.
information or icons.
Yeah.
And then you got, and then if you got to stand up and look at it, it's like, or ooh, what does that say? All the way over there.
Yeah.
It's one thing if it's way on the other side of the board. It's going to happen.
Right.
That's going to be unavoidable with a large map.
Right.
It just is. But if this is over there and buried, well, what are you going to do? So yeah, I agree. Okay, so I had a great time playing this. I felt like the updated stuff. I don't remember everything that they changed, but I know that some things have changed because I felt like the progression was faster. I was getting cards quicker. Now in my game, I had a little bit of luck because I was going after and getting some merchant ships early,
Yeah.
which was allowing me to level up a little bit faster than these two.
Yeah, everything I flipped over was a pirate ship.
Yeah.
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 the
But
beginning.
I do some of the things that they had a bad time with were not problems for me. And I'm not saying, but I think that is a very realistic expectation or representation of what you're going to see with different players sitting down to play this game. So I sat down this time to play it and looking at it as like a sandbox pirate game and remembering that it's a grind. And then I sit down to do that and it all of a sudden felt less grindy, and I felt more successful. So there is a lot more feels good. I get that this hurts, especially at critical times. I really do. I really, really do. But I don't feel like I ever had any really bad turns. I think that I had, similar amount of bad turns or suboptimal turns.
To be fair, I think you rolled the red one at the very first turn, then you paid to re-roll it, and you never roll it the rest of the game.
That's true. That's true.
What's it like?
Yeah. That's true.
So-
But so I mean that's going to be a thing. I think that is too punishing.
Yeah.
I agree that that's too punishing. Now maybe if you're at a certain level, pirate ships versus
Or maybe pay 2 movements to get away from that instead of 1 movement.
yeah. Because the pirate ships when you're small, before level 3, the pirate ships you're just toast.
Yeah.
You are toast.
Pirate hunters.
Yeah, the pirate hunters. Yeah, we're pirate ships.
We are pirate ships.
But those pirate hunters are just going
They're
to
brutal.
destroy you. But I had a much better time, and I enjoyed it last time. But I with flaws and all, right? I understand. I saw the warts,
bones, the good bones.
And I saw the good bones, and was like, this could be a really good game. And now I'm sitting down to play it, and I'm feeling like this is a pretty good game, but it's going to be situational. There's going to be people that This is not a, I'm going to bring this to a convention. Hey, what do you feel like playing? Oh, do you want to play this? Like, no, this is an appointment game. You know, because it's going to take a couple hours. There's a lot of setup. It is a little fiddly because you're doing math. You're looking at how your cards are going to combine together. And there's a lot of little details that you need to remember, whether it's triggering combat modifiers, whether it's remembering that you have fleet, you know, that have joined you, ships that have joined you, combat. You know, combat gets easier the more you do it.
It does get easier the more you do it, but this flow chart is helpful.
And until you have initiative, your broadsides are basically worthless.
If you don't have initiative, broadside is worthless.
So your broadsides are worthless until you are at least level 2, because the odds of you getting to a merchant ship, you can scout, you can spend those movement and scout around you, see what you got. Because because I was able to get over to a merchant ship right away, scouted one, there it was, moved over. And I didn't even use my broadsides. I had the strike fear to do that. And that automatically gave me a bump right there.
Yep.
You know, so if that works out, awesome. But you have to be prepared for that not to work out. You also have to come into this game knowing that this die roll is going to absolutely blow up your turn. I mean, it's going to happen. And you're going to have to embrace the suck. And if you don't, you're going to have a bad time. I'll just put that out there. Easy for me to say because it didn't happen to me a ton. I did get hit with this guy a bunch, but then I was like, well, you know what? Screw that. I'm just going to take that ship out and get the XP. So instead of doing some of the things that I was kind of hoping to get to do, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that ship out.
Those are much easier.
And then agreed. But then I started going in after the other ships because I started to get, because I was doing that, my level, I was able to get initiative on ports then. You know, and then it's like, all right, well, I'll get a couple ports while I'm here, you know.
Well, I was very lucky with the rolls toward the beginning. I was getting the +2, +3, like quite a bit, and I was getting moving around. I was scouting a bunch, and then it was only when I actually started to go to do something that I needed to do for my mission. Red side was just,
and I think that's what hurt
nemesis.
you, right? Is you were cooking, and you're moving, and you're doing stuff, and then you just ground to an absolute halt.
Yep.
And I understand that sucks, and that feels bad. I came into, like, I knew that basically the game was going to end. I hadn't done my mission. I needed to scout a slaver ship. And the slave ship barely moved. Because we didn't roll this a bunch. So it moved like 5 spaces.
5 spaces, yeah.
And which is not a lot, really. And especially because it's all the way up here. And it ended up, because of where these guys were sailing, more stuff was cleared out down here. So it was actually easier for me to go this way.
The long way.
Versus this way, because I would have had to fight my way through all that stuff to get to that slave ship. But I was able to do it on the very last turn. So I went, okay, you know, that's fine. I was not too worried about this, so I'd actually kind of given up on trying to accomplish it and was just kind of focusing on running around getting as much XP while I was waiting for Mike to finish off the, the last goal.
Yeah, the global mission or whatever.
For the global mission. And then again, like I said, the opportunity presented itself. I needed like 2 things to go right. They did, and it all worked out. I had a decent hand. But again, right, as you get stronger, your hand size gets bigger. You're adding cards to your deck. You're getting better cards. So, I all of that felt really good. Leveling up felt really good. I kind of compared a little bit to like Zaya, Legend of a Drift system. It's got a sort of a different level up system, but it's very sandboxy, and there's great things that can happen to you, and there's terrible things that can happen to you inside. But the map, knowing where the map is, right, and all of that is really good. The only other thing is if their card has the name of a location and there's not the ocean, like the picture of the map.
The tiding is cards do a great job of kind of pointing you in the right direction of where that's taking place. Some of the personal mission cards would really benefit from having that picture on there as well to kind of get you in the right space.
Well, there's a lot of locations.
And Bob even got thrown off because he didn't read the whole card.
Right. And I saw the La and thought it was the La area here because it was kind of covered with a chip, and I went down there and that's not the right spot.
Because it gave him an alternate name, like some treasure had been found at blah 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 near Maracaibo. Right.
Yes.
So we were looking for that
name
in the area of Maracaibo, but what it actually meant was that you have to go to Maracaibo.
Then it says, if I kept reading the card, it said to actually sack Maracaibo.
Right. Yeah. So that's on Bob.
That's more on me.
That's on Bob, but if it had the picture of Maracaibo like on that card,
Right. You would know that's
you'd
right.
know
where
right
it's-
there. Okay. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Sac Maracaibo.
Yep.
I appreciate the flavor text in the story, but yes.
And I want to echo what Mike said. Like, this map is beautiful.
Map's
it,
great.
It looks really good. The way they kind of did the whole transatlantic part with the +2 -4 or the +2 +4 because you're going with the winds and the and tide and everything. Like, it's really nice map. Like that's one of my favorite things about like war games and stuff too is figuring out what parts of the ocean and spots like you can cross and try to minimize your
Yeah, and
spaces
there's
move.
all these great
Yes.
ways that make this map smaller,
Yeah.
and you have to pay attention.
Right, because you can kind of wait, I can cut this way, and
Yes.
it's like 2 less movement.
And I
Like,
think that's a feature, not a bug, right?
no,
That's
yeah,
a
for sure.
great
That's what I'm
thing.
saying. It's one of the things I really enjoy about war games, and this does a great job with its map layout.
Yeah, it's creative. It's creative and it's really interesting. The only other negative I kind of have for it is that it's very easy for the tokens to cover up the names of the locations.
Yes.
So you have to just kind of be aware.
Yeah, find the open spots in the water, stack your tokens there. Don't worry about spreading them out too much. if you
Not
don't
the
have
end of
to.
the world. Just keep that in mind when you're playing.
Yep.
But that's kind of all I got. I had a good time
Yeah.
playing it,
Oh, that's pretty
but I understand what you guys are saying with the critiques.
I'll add one more thing before we go into our scores for the game. And unfortunately, this is probably something that's too far along to change. But that box does not fit in a calyx, and it misses it by about a half an inch, if less.
Yep.
And the box is full, but there's space. There's space to make it smaller. So I'm just saying it is detrimental when a game does not fit into a calyx,
It does-
because
it
most of us have those, including all of us.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all. That's the last part I got before the scores.
That's fair.
Yep.
That's fair. All right, guys. We need to score this game.
Yeah.
Mike, how do we do that here?
We score the game from 1 to 10. We average all of our scores together. That's the rundown score, and that's what we put on BGG Discord or anywhere you want to hear the rundown score.
And normally, when a game isn't out yet, we don't score them, but they want to know all of our feelings and how we feel about it.
Yeah.
I feel like getting into all that depth and scoring it is the best way to do that. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, just for context, they sent us this game for their Kickstarter. We covered it. We had some critiques about the game, and they were really open to addressing some of our concerns, and they were really approachable about the things that we said about it, even the sort of negative things, and they still sent us another copy to get our thoughts on what is a more finalized version.
Right.
So I think it's fair to say all of that before we score it.
Yeah, agreed. And hey, kudos to them.
Yeah.
I really respect the hell out of that because it's not an easy thing to do. And some people will just ghost you if you don't like their game.
Yeah.
I've heard of people having critiques about the game and then never hearing from the publisher again.
Yeah.
So
that's
props
the
to
thing.
you guys for
Absolutely.
internalizing what we said and still sending us a pre-production copy. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Hoop.
That's me.
Throw that number at us.
So like I said, I really enjoy what I was doing. I wouldn't actively avoid playing this game. I don't think I necessarily need it personally in my collection. Like if Tim had it and he wants to play it, I'd be like, sure, I'd play it. I think I'd feel like I would like to caveat that and do like the 1 token per reroll.
I would.
2
You know
tokens
what?
per reroll. I think that's a pretty good system.
I think we'd house rule that.
Yeah,
I honestly
and I
do.
would totally play it with that caveat. But as it sits, I would give it a 6.5. With a rule change like that and a couple more plays, I could see it definitely going up from there.
Sure.
But from where it's at, I would say it's a 6.5.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, so I think if you enjoy the pirate theme and you like sandbox games, I could see people really having a blast with this game. There is enough crunch here to enjoy. There's a lot to consider on your turn, but I just don't think it's for me. There's a lot of fiddliness in the rules, and I feel like if you're playing this once a year or once every 6 months, you're going to be in the rule book a lot every time you play this game, and I don't that can be detrimental for my enjoyment of a game because this was our second time playing it, and we were in the rule book a lot.
A lot of clarifications.
Lot.
We needed a lot of clarifications.
It slows the game down. There's also a lot of downtime. It is not uncommon for there to be 10 to 15 minutes between turns, even in a 3-player game. Now, sometimes that was because of rule clarifications, and sometimes just because one person can be doing a lot on their turn. But then it can come back to you, and then you roll that red side of the die, and then you're trying to avoid the pirate hunter, and then you don't get to use all of the cards in your hand, and some of the randomness can really feel bad. And I like luck and randomness in games, but when it's a 3 to 4 hour game and the luck consistently hits you, it can really make you suffer. It can ruin the enjoyment of the game. So it's not all bad. I don't know that I would request to play this game again. So that's why I'm falling on a 6 for this.
I think
one.
you almost need ignore a card or something that lets you ignore the tidings die. You know what I mean?
Well, I think.
Or you think the reroll is good enough?
I think the reroll thing is good. I mean, I had paid like 3 times to reroll it at 4 a piece and still rolled the same side every single time. But by making that cheaper, like I said, by the time I was level 4, I had 12 of those things. So I could if I'm rerolling that thing like 5 times and I roll the same die, fate just says I'm screwed.
Yeah.
So
I mean, here I am sitting with 13 of these things at the end of the game. It didn't punish me that much that I felt like I had to re-roll, but there's still a lot of like you flip the wrong ship over, or you go into an area where there's a ship and you didn't scout it ahead of time. Like you kind of want to experience that danger sometimes, but if the wrong ship flips over, it can,
You'd be glad you have your brown
really
pants.
set you back. And I still felt like it runs a little, and it does say 3 hours. They do say that.
That's accurate.
And we were a little over that, even with checking the rules and everything. So that's not that bad. But to me, I still felt like it kind of overstayed its welcome a little bit. I started pushing the end game, even though it didn't help my score, just because I wanted to see the end of the game. Sure. So it's just not for me, but I don't think it's a bad game at all.
Yeah, so I kind of had a different experience playing it. I think that the issues you guys had, I see, but they didn't bother me the way that, and this happens, right? Sometimes we all play the same game, but we all, you say tomato, I say tomato. This was an 8. I had a good time playing this. I think I was able to ramp up. I had a good experience. Had a lot of good turns. Not every turn was everything I wanted to do, but I had a lot of good turns. I felt good doing it. I saw the improvement. I still think that there's still room for improvements, and we've, even with that 8, I still want to house rule that reroll because I feel like that would help me get other people to have a better time playing it.
Right.
And
which helps you table the game more.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's where we're at.
So our scores averaged together 6.8.
All right. Well, I mean, that's pretty fair.
It's pretty fair.
I think that's pretty fair. I think everybody had very reasonable things that they brought up. And so, yeah. And also I kind of like it when we have some up and down with the scores, because I really feel like we're presenting a lot of different perspectives.
Right.
And so, and some aspects. Because if you hear Mike and he's talking about some of the things that he doesn't like in the game, and you're like, yeah, I hate that. Well, then your score might go more closer to his. And if you're listening to me and you're like, all the things I like in the game, you're like, yeah, I hate that. Well, then you probably are going to go away from my score, right? But if you're not bothered by that, or you found those kind of things interesting, then you might be more inclined to go in my direction. So it is nice though to sort of have that dichotomy there with it.
Yep. But I recognize that if you like pirate themes and you like open world sandboxes and you're okay digging into the rules and playing a deep game that has a lot of minutia, I think you can have a blast with this game, especially if you're able to keep playing it with the same group
and the campaign
over
mode,
and over.
The campaign mode will give you like treasure cards you can take over to the next round, some things like that.
There's a lot of content, and if you have a group for this, I think you can have a blast with this game. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of replayability.
Yep. It's not bad by any means.
No.
I think it's a game where if you've got a group that likes to play the same game a bunch, like, here you go.
Yeah. Yep.
Here you go. But all right, well, that is the Pirate Republic, the Africa Gambit, and I think we've covered the whole shebang.
I feel like it.
All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for playing this. Thank you to the guys over there for sending this over and giving us another crack at it. I really appreciate that. And for the Board Game Rundown, I've been Tim.
Bob.
Mike.
We'll see you next time.